Hey everyone, how's it going? I have a quick story to share with you. I wasn't sure who to tell it to, how to tell it, so I thought I'm just going to put it on a video, put it up on YouTube. If anybody's interested in it, they'll find it. So this story is about Anthony Fantano of the Needle Drop. He first reached out to me about 8 years ago when I had a music site, and he said, hey, do you have any advice for me? You've been doing this for a while, and we talked back and forth. And Anthony he became very famous. He has a website and a YouTube channel where he reviews albums and goes, I give this a light 6. And then everybody who reads it or watches it goes, no, it's a 9. And then they fight and he gets hits and more money and so on and so forth. He also has his own meme channel. And I think anybody over the age of 25, he's just way too old. It's like the false fountain of youth for idiots memes when you're an adult. But anyway, so let's get into the story. About 2 weeks ago, I get this weird email from Anthony Fantano saying, hey man, I haven't talked to you in a while. I think we met once in real life, just briefly. He said, I want to fly you up to New York. I'm flying all my friends and family and people who supported me over the years. I just landed this huge sponsorship deal and I'm renting out this warehouse club party thing in Brooklyn and everybody's invited. I'm flying everybody out. I'm like, wow, he must have made like $1 million if he's flying out hundreds of people. So I think to myself, I'm like, I don't really know this guy, so it's kind of weird, but free trip to New York, you know, so let's go. So I fly up there on Saturday. This just happened. I've been trying to think about, like, how do I tell the story? It's the first time telling it, so I'm sorry if it rambles. But so I land at LaGuardia, and I get a town card over to this warehouse. It's about 11 o'clock at night, and I'm running behind. And I get there, and I have to be honest, when I first saw this, I was like, man, Anthony Fantano, really, really famous and really rich, because this whole warehouse, I would say it held 800 people. Laser show, DJ was going crazy. Not really my thing, but I was just like, man, I thought it was just like we were gonna be hanging out or something. So I text him like, hey man, I know that you got all your friends here. You're busy, but I'd love to say hi and thank you for the free trip to New York City, you know, in this great party. And he texts me, he goes, I'm in the promoter's office, and this is where the story starts getting weird. Just come back. Ask the bartender, they'll take you to the promoter's office. So the bartender leads me like Goodfellas, like down some steps and through a kitchen to this promoter's office. And when I open the door, the first thing I see is a big duffel bag full of cash, just overflowing with cash, stacks of hundreds. And Anthony's standing up, the club promoter is at his desk, and Anthony's just yelling at this guy. He's going, you told me I could have this club to myself. There's no amount of money. I'll pay anything. You know, let's get going. The guy finally breaks it down and he's like, 30 grand, you can decide who stays and goes. Because that was kind of the thing that Anthony wanted. He wanted to pick who could stay and who could go. So the guy was like, are you just going to go through individually and say, hey, you know, you can stay, you can go? He was like, no, kick out all the guys. The women can stay for free. And tell them it's an open bar. And I'm like, open bar? That's crazy. And then that's when I start realizing, that's when everything starts kind of clicking together. I'm like, none of those people outside are his friends. So who did he invite? And I start looking around the promoter's office. There's me, there's this other guy, there's another guy with a Bluetooth, and then the promoter and Anthony. So there's only like 5 of us in this room. So I'm thinking hundreds of people, 5 people, and one of them works at the club. So Anthony turns around and he goes, oh shit, it's Poggs, and gives me a big hug. And I go, hey, it's Zach, I'm not Poggs. He goes, no, my new thing is I give everyone nicknames. You're Poggs. And so for the rest of the night, he called me Poggs, even though my name is Zach. Then he introduces me to his childhood friend, whose real name is Tim, but he calls Lobster Boy because once or twice when they were kids up in New England, they ate lobster rolls. Kind of a stretch. And then my favorite part of the entire story is I meet his assistant, and he introduces himself as Sheldon. And later in that night, about 2 hours later, me and Sheldon are hanging out, and I was like, hey, Sheldon, how did you get this job? You know, are you an intern, or how did you become the assistant at Anthony Fantano? He goes, hey, you know, when it's just us two, call me Roger. That's my real name. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, the nickname thing. I'm like, why are you called Sheldon? And my favorite part about flying to New York is I discovered that Anthony Fantano is a huge Big Bang Theory fan, so he makes his assistant refer to himself as Sheldon just because he likes this really crappy TV show. So anyway, Anthony gets on the microphone. He announces free bar. One note is when they cleared everybody out, a lot of women got upset that they were, you know, it's sexist that like, oh, the women can stay, but the men have to leave. So a lot of them left. So now in this club that had 800, 900 people, I would guess, I'm just guessing. Now there's like 30 women, me, Lobster Boy, the promoter, the DJ, and can't forget about Sheldon. And he was always off in the corner, you know, on his phone. But anyway, so now it's a really empty space, and he gets on the microphone, he's really proud of himself, and Anthony says, hey, open bar. So everyone kind of just goes to the bar like, oh, at least we're getting something out of this weird night. But he told the bar not to sell any of the product, only to sell his new product. And this is the only part where I might get in trouble because I'm leaking a product that he's going to be releasing soon. It's called Cal Juice, and it looks like an energy drink. If you don't know who Cal is, he has this character named Cal Chuchesta that he brings on his show and has a mustache, and it's Cal's face on this green can, and it tastes like orange bitters, champagne, kind of like a little LaCroix a little bit. It's like really watered down, and and vodka and Red Bull. I would say it's garbage. It's terrible. But he had crates of this stuff, so I think he thinks he's gonna brand this drink. So everybody's excited, runs over to the bar, and then they get free Cal Juice, and it was disgusting, and everyone's kind of upset about it. And he's talking to this. I didn't even really get to talk to him because he's just hitting on women. And he's at this bar, and he's talking to this woman, you know, and she's trying to get out of it. I'm overhearing it, just observing, and he basically goes, you know, like, oh, what are you up to later? And she's like, well, I kind of only date DJs. Like, that's my thing. And you can tell she's stretching just to get away from this creep. And he goes, oh, well, I'm a DJ. And he runs and tells the DJ to get off. All right. So the DJ leaves, and Anthony runs into the men's restroom. And it might be the most disturbing and sad image to see an empty dance floor where everybody just an hour before was having a great time and the lasers are going, but with no music. And it was very David Lynch. It was really, really scary. Anthony comes out without his shirt on and a hat that says hashtag mashup. He's DJ hashtag mashup. And he tried to do like this girl talk thing where he layers 2 songs over, but he wasn't like chopping them up or anything. He just put 2 tracks on top of each other. And the first one was Nicki Minaj's Anaconda mixed with a Death Grip track that I couldn't identify. And it was just like Cal Juice. It was garbage. And then the club promoter around 2 a.m. said, hey, all right, you paid, you got to go now. He goes, one last thing, Sheldon, bring out the present. And Sheldon brings out this huge cake. And we all circled around the cake. There's like 10 women left. Everybody's drinking Cal Juice. And there's this cake, and we all sing happy birthday, and the lasers are going. There's no sound, just a cappella happy birthday, real creepy. And then I start to kind of go toward the exit. I see this table with sheets of paper spread out and $100 bill on each piece of paper. And I kind of move it aside, and they're non-disclosure forms. He was basically paying everybody who stayed when he kicked the guys out $100 not to disclose all of this weird egotistical stuff like the cake and the DJ mashup and the Cal Juice and stuff like that. I thought to myself, I was like, I could really use $100, but this story is worth $100, so I didn't sign it. So I go up to Anthony. I'm like, hey, man, give him a hug. He's like, Poggs, man, thanks for coming out. I was like, I have to ask you, is this like a normal life in your life now? Like, since you've been famous, is this what you do? And he goes, Zach, he goes, did he call me Zach or Poggs? I think he called me Zach. He called me Zach that one time. He goes, Zach, I give this a decent 7, and just stared off in the distance. And then he put on a magician's cape or just like a regular cape. I don't know if there's a regular cape these days. And just walked out. And didn't tell me where my hotel was, if a car's taking me. So I just got in an Uber and went back to LaGuardia, flying out at 8 a.m. I'm looking over this beautiful city. The sun's coming up, and everybody looks like ants. And you just see this beautiful city. And I thought to myself, like, somewhere out there, this ego of Anthony Fantano, shirtless, drinking Cal Juice in a cape, and just terrorizing the streets of New York with his ego. And I've never been happier to go home. So I've been sitting with this story since Saturday, Sunday, and I didn't know what to do. But there it is. It was weird. It was very weird. So with that said, Poggs signing off, and thanks for listening.